Good evening, my friends. Welcome to our digital devotion. Here we are, the middle of the week. What is the date? For me, it is a different day. That is the gift of recording these things, right? It's not always the same day. So it's the 11th. February 11th is when this will go live. It's February 9th right now for me, and you might find this on March 8th for all I know. But whatever the day is, I hope that it has been well and good for you. My phone has been vibrating. The screen is doing all kind of crazy things. And if you work with computers, you know the headache of clicking on something and then nothing happens for a really long time. I don't know, does that mean my computer is getting long in the tooth? Do I need to work with her? Does she need some sort of rehabilitation? I sure hope not. I don't want to admit that this computer is 6 years old now, but that's fine. You know, they're so advanced now, we should be good. Anyway, looking forward to talking with you tonight about some more symbolism in Christianity. This stuff tonight, not as old as many of the other things we're going to talk about as I continue on in this series, but I wanted to talk about these because it's near Valentine's Day, at least right now for me, recording this it is. You know, Valentine's Day is what, Friday of this week? Saturday, Friday. It's at the end of the week, and if you know Mason and poor Becky, somebody sing a sad song for Becky. Her husband is not a Valentine romantic because I am a stick in the mud. You're celebrating Valentine's Day. Do you know why? Do you know that he was killed for performing marriages? Does that matter in this holiday? Are you being set up just to pay more for chocolate? I don't know. But here are some Christian symbols. Here is some imagery from Christianity that I just thought it would be very interesting to go through. And there are others. The screen got kind of busy once I got to this point. But, the cross, the fish, some hearts, which is why we'll be doing those today. The shield of faith, the Cairo, the Agnus Dei. These are all symbols or imagery, or I didn't put this one here, but the Jerusalem cross that we talked about a couple of Sundays ago at church, all of these things, there's so many, but just looking at some that you may be familiar with or have seen before, just to know what they mean, what they reference, what they stand for, and even in a way, understanding how old are they. Some of them, by literal definition, ancient, others old, but not as old, if that makes any sense. So tonight we're going to talk about the hearts. And so all the way to the left of the screen is Mary, and you see her heart. Now it's as though she's opening her outer garment to see that. The very first version of Jesus and his heart, it was held in his hand just like that. But I'm going to bring up in just a moment, these are two different pictures. I know I bumped them close together back there on the screen, but I think it's kind of obvious. You see his robe just kind of cuts off right there where her picture is. These are two different images, but I'm going to bring one up in just a minute that was drawn or painted or whatever with both of them, because quite often they'll both be depicted. And to be completely fair, when we talk about these hearts, there is a third. There is a heart for Joseph, but you almost never see it, so I didn't do it. It's a heart like this, but it's not exactly as detailed, and it has, I think they're lilies. I'm not 100% sure. Well, yeah, peace lilies or light. Yeah. Anyway, around him. But anyway, let's start on the left. Mary. Did I point the right way? I did. That was totally by accident. Mary's heart that you see there, that is known as the immaculate heart. If you've heard during the Christmas season of something called the Immaculate Conception. For the longest time, before I had the privilege of taking church history, before I had the privilege of being a student in seminary of divinity itself, I thought Immaculate Conception was in reference to the Christ, to Jesus, but it is not. The Immaculate Conception makes reference to Mary's conception in the Catholic teaching, in the Orthodox teaching of the early Catholic Church. The idea of sin being a genetic inheritance was and still is a very respected truth. Now, you may not believe that, but you have certainly heard that we are born sinners, okay? And so the idea of being born a sinner does have roots into the idea of original sin, the sin of Adam, being an inherited thing throughout time inside of all people. In a way, you are genetically a sinner. And so for Mary to give birth to the sinless Christ, the teaching was that she herself must be sinless, or she would be giving Jesus that genetic. Okay, following me so far? So the immaculate conception is a reference to this sort of gift, the grace of God. I'm trying to how to word that right. The grace of God being over Mary's parents as they conceived her, so that she was born without that genetic sin connection. Therefore, Jesus wouldn't get it because his mother didn't have it, and his father was the Father, so he was conceived without that. So the immaculate heart, going along with the immaculate conception, it belongs to Mary. The one that's just over my shoulder, Jesus holding the sacred heart. So his heart is referred to as the sacred heart. Both of these have, I think they're referred to as feast days. I'm not 100% sure. They definitely have days where these are recognized, and you pray in regards to each of them in the Catholic Church. But his heart is the Sacred Heart. Now, this is the original art. It was described or sort of scribbled in artwork, but this is the first official piece of art involving the Sacred Heart right here, where Jesus is holding it in his hands. And you see there his other hand, it's almost as if he is offering it, right? So he is offering his heart for all mankind. And the Sacred Heart symbology is there, but with the internet and what I could get access to without jumping through hoops, this one, it's kind of harder to see. So I have this to show. Now they've swapped places. So you see Jesus now all the way over on the left, and you see Mary just above me. So I'll start with the Immaculate Heart, kind of just there. You have no idea how hard that really is to do, okay? So the Immaculate Heart, you will notice that they have very similar structure in the sense of they each have a crown around the heart. They each have a heart. They each have fire coming out of the heart. And if you'll also notice, they have what looks like radiance or light coming from behind them. And as strange as it is, there is more symbology present. That maybe isn't fair. What you see in Mary's Immaculate Heart in the depiction there, it has more reference biblically. Like there's more Bible verses to directly go to. Not that there isn't necessarily with Jesus, but the Sacred Heart is more of a sort of an expansive idea. And these symbols for Mary, some of them, they reference very specific things. So right above me, let's start here. Here is the Immaculate Heart. This is the heart of Mary. When you see it as though it was on their shirts, for lack of a better way of describing it, it's actually supposed to be outside of their body. Okay, so these hearts are supposed to be external. So it's not just on her dress or on their shirts or whatever. It's there. It's outside of her. And that's supposed to be the symbol that their love is so great that it's being offered to everyone. Thus, it's out. It's not inside, it's outside. Her heart is for the world, and so it's outside of her body. That's the symbol. Also, you can't see because her hand is in the way, but right in between those fingers, you can maybe make out that blood is dropping because her heart is bleeding. I had to make myself some notes just to remember everything. Being outside of the body is her undying love for all people, and we've heard of people saying they have a bleeding heart, which normally means someone is overly emotional or very, very apt to be connected emotionally to a situation. And that's what that symbol means, the heart, meaning that she is bleeding in her love for the world. That crown of roses around the heart is to symbolize her purity, her virtue. And so that's what that symbols in that. And then the fire means that she is burning. She is being consumed with the love she has for mankind, and being seen through the Catholic tradition as the mother of the Christ because of her perfection. And I don't know that I'm saying that incorrectly. They believe Mary is perfect as the mother of the Christ. Her love is perfect for you. She desires to help you, to provide for you her son. And so she has this virtue, this purity, all of that being why the roses go around there. Okay, an extremely pure heart. Let's see if I'm clicking real time. If you look at, can I make myself pop up here? It's covered up by everything. Hold on. Yes, okay. So if you look straight up there, okay, the one above me, the one behind me directly, that's the Sacred Heart. The one above me is the Immaculate Heart. And if you'll notice, there's a lily growing out of it. That was added later in once the Sacred Heart kind of idea, which, by the way, didn't really get sort of solidified artistically until the mid-1800s. But once it was kind of settled on, the lily did or didn't appear, but it has the same reference as the crown of roses, that her purity, her virtue, that it's growing even out with the lily. Now this one doesn't have that, but some you will come across too. So the fire, her heart is burning for people. Her heart is bleeding for them. It is out because it's for them. The crown of roses symbolizing her virtue and purity. And then you see a sword running through her heart. Now that comes from Luke chapter 2. That's when Simeon meets Mary and Joseph at the temple, where they have brought Jesus for dedication, where they have come to give an offering, a sacrifice for him. And Simeon speaks over Jesus. He thanks God that he's lived exactly like God said, to see the promise, the reconciliation come to Israel. But he says to Mary that a sword will pierce her heart. And so that is what this symbol is. Now, most of the ones I could find with 7 swords in her heart, which are normally coming out of the fire, the picture quality, that was so low that it looked awful. So I didn't get it. But you can come across variants of the Immaculate Heart that instead of just 1 sword piercing it, you will see 7. And that symbolizes what's known as the 7 sorrows of Mary. Now I have to look at them because you might not realize this, but I'm not Catholic. So number 1 is the first sword, that one is always symbolizing the prophecy of Simeon. Then there's the escape into Egypt, the loss of Jesus in Jerusalem. So she loses Jesus when he's 12, and what have I done? Meeting him on the road on Via Dolorosa, the crucifixion of Jesus, his piercing at his side, and his burial. I just confused myself with how I put my fingers up, but there are 7 of them total. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Yes. 7 sorrows of the Immaculate Heart. And so there will be 7 swords there. The last symbol in the Immaculate Heart is the ray of light, and so you see the kind of the sun beaming out maybe from behind the heart, and then here in that stained glass above, that is also, literally to me looks like the sun, but it's just glowing out. And that's supposed to be, I pushed the wrong button, that she's radiating out from the Bible in Revelation 12, verse 1, where it says that the woman is clothed with the sun. And so she is the beam, the brightness of the sun. This is the woman in Revelation 12, the Catholic Church would argue most certainly. And so she's clothed in the sun, her heart wrapped in the light of the sun. Very similar symbolism in the Christ and Sacred Heart, but there's no referential 7 swords meaning this or that, but you can certainly see the symbolism of his heart. Again, you see the matching. That's why I wanted to put this one behind me. Mary and Jesus, so much of that is tied together in the early church. So Jesus' heart, just like Mary's heart, outside, because it is on offer to the world. It is also bleeding, but here his heart is bleeding for a very specific reason. Not that he isn't bleeding for people or hurting for them, but here his blood on the heart, and you can see it there. We go back here, and behind me, this is the one it's right there. You see this little line kind of right there going. I don't know how to make my finger that. Anyway, it's in that area. Okay, there's a line right there. Just like there's a line that you can kind of see with blood sort of dripping on the heart. That is a symbol of, because the Bible, the idea of when he was pierced with a spear on the cross and it enters into his heart. Even medically, there's an argument that that's why water came out, because the sac around his heart had filled up, and water, as the spear punctured that, the water came out. Crown of thorns. The Sacred Heart symbolism be far more obvious to you. The crown of thorns, symbolizing the crown that he was forced to wear on our behalf. Fire coming out of his heart because his heart is burning in pure righteousness, and the cross reminding us of what he accomplished on our behalf, that we might be set free from our sins. And then also, literally, the light of God beaming from him. He is that light, that righteousness. And so the same sort of sun symbolism, if I go back to this one that's behind me, this one's more modern, I guess. And I know it's like almost impossible to see, but you can see the rays of the sun coming out from behind. Now this, if I make this image go away, this one that's directly above me, this is from the 18th century, so that's the 1700s, this painting. I think the first known reference to the Sacred Heart as far as an imagery is in 1670. Somebody needs to go check that. I'm pretty sure that's correct, though. So the Sacred Heart has a much more time out, like in the past, reference. The Immaculate Heart comes later. And if I'm not mistaken, the recognition of the Immaculate Heart, the feast day, for lack of a better way to call it, where you pray a certain thing and read a certain thing, I don't think that actually got settled completely 100% until the 1940s. So the Immaculate Heart comes much later, but the Sacred Heart as early as 1670. So definitely not as old as, say the Jerusalem cross from the 1200s, late 12th, early 13th century. Certainly not that old. Definitely not as old. If I go back to this page, in the middle, those two in the middle, that fish symbol is the earliest Christian symbol that we know of. So we're talking about 150 AD type stuff, the Cairo in the 300s. So the Immaculate Heart and the Sacred Heart, not old like that at all, but very often familiar symbols of Christianity, whether in TV and movies, or you might literally go to the dollar store or Walmart and find a candle that has Mary on it with her heart exposed like this. So whether you knew what that symbol stood for or not, you may have seen this before, but now you know. Virtue, purity, the sword, the seven sorrows of Mary, radiating light because she's clothed in the sun. If I take Revelation 12:1 to be talking specifically of her, which you can or cannot. I don't think that test will be required to have an A on it when we get to heaven. But anyway, and then Jesus and the Sacred Heart over there. This more obvious, more easy for us to recognize the symbolism: crown of thorns, the pierced heart, the fire of righteousness, the crown, the cross as our salvation, and the radiation of his righteousness. But anyway, those are the hearts, and so now I know that just makes Valentine's Day all the more beautiful. So let me pray and ask God to bless you and then get out of your way. Almighty Father in heaven, I am so very gracious to you, or for you and to you. I'm thankful to you. Take my thanks. They are yours. You are so good and you are so faithful. Thank you for this time that I can have with my friends all over wherever on the internet, and that we can learn a little and know a little bit more about the history of our faith, the symbolism of our faith, but most importantly, to be refocused on the person of our faith, on Jesus Christ. Thank you for giving your Son that we might live our lives. They are simply to praise you, Jesus. And so I pray that you would empower us to do it every day in your holy name. Amen. All right, guys, thank you. It's a couple more symbols down, many more symbols to go. I hope you'll stay with me, join me. I hope this is interesting. If not, just don't tell me it would break my tender heart. Get it? See what I did there? All right. Happy Valentine's Day if you come across this before that. If you come across this in time and you haven't bought a Valentine's treat to help me and my friends go to Guatemala, do that. Remember that. Get that done. Send us to Guatemala on the mission trip. I love you for it, and I love you even if you get to this after that was possible. So I'll see you next time. God bless you. God keep you safe. And remember, we're done here. So you go into the world around you now and you pour kindness and love out on the people you come across. And you do that because of that heart, because of that sacred heart, because of the kindness that Jesus has poured out on you. I love you. See ya. Bye.